What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. Today we're going over some of the stuff I'll be using in the new war when that comes out on the 15th of December. We're going over the frame, companion, weapons, and like builds and stuff for the ground mission gear, so like Warframes and all that, for the new war. What I'll be using, not the only option, I can give you some more recommendations on frames I'd recommend you run, and why is this so important? We'll go over that as well. Before we get into it though, make sure you're subbed to the YouTube channel to know when all these videos go up and, keep up to date on all the happenings in Warframe. Alright, so New War, you probably know what the New War is at this point. They have mentioned there will be limited arsenal access during this quest, so I'd recommend going to the New War, bring some stuff that you know can handle high-level missions. And it will probably end up being a level 50 mission, which is not high level at all as far as I'm concerned. But, being overprepared has never been a terrible thing in this game. So, the frame I'm going to run, and, you could run this if you wanted to, is going to be Garuda. There's a few reasons for that. One of which is that they actually, somewhat recently, made it where sentients can take status procs. Before, sentients were immune to status procs, and that has changed in, the second half of 2021. So that means Garuda's fourth ability, Seeking Talons, which will force slash procs enemies, is one of the best ways to kill sentients in the entire game. So as long as you have enough power strength to get 100% bleed chance on Garuda's 4 Seeking Talons, that's all you really need. And we're going to show how you can one-shot basically any sentient that's a ground troop with just 3 button presses, one of them being Seeking Talons. The other good things that Garuda has going for her is the Dread Ward, or Dreadmere. This will make a impenetrable shield in front of you. Also scales with enemy health, so depending on what type of enemies we're fighting, it should be good no matter what. We've subsumed Molt from Saren on here just for speed running. I don't need extra healing. If these enemies are level 50, they're never going to kill my Umbra Anti-Sentient Garuda anyway. So this is just for drawing a little bit of aggro, making you run faster, mostly just the speed factor. We could run Regenerative Molt, the augment mod for Molt on here, but we have other ways of healing, mainly Arcane Grace. But I kind of do want to fit this on here somehow. And then we've got Bloodletting giving us infinite energy, as there will most likely be a Railjack portion of the new war. This is great for letting you be a ship captain with full energy all the time, or that you could just pop an energy pad, to be fair. And we'll go over the build and show it in practice here. So, my main focus for this build is getting through the missions fast and basically not dying. That's why it's pretty much a full tank build on Garuda. We've got Umbral Fiber, Umbral Intensify in an Umbra Polarity slot, and Umbra Vitality giving us a total of 45.1% resistance to Tau damage, which is the main damage source of the sentients. You've also got Adaptation on here. An unranked one is honestly fine. This will give you increased Tau resistance as well, so these stack together for a good amount of Tau resistance. We've got Primed Flow and Quick Thinking, which will basically turn our energy bar into an extra health bar, which is very good with Garuda, as you can be at 2 health a lot of the time and also get free energy. Natural Talent is a must-have mod in Garuda, as her cast speeds are very, very slow. Prime Sure-Footed, so you can spam the Kuvazar at your feet and not get knocked over. And then Enemy Radar is just, the aura is really a personal preference kind of thing. I want to know where these sentients are through the walls and all that, so I can blast them through the walls. So the rest we're going to run here. But there's definitely other options, such as Steel Charge, Brief Respite, Corrosive Projection, Energy Siphon, etc., etc. So that's all we got there for the build. And then as far as the Arcanes, like I said, I want to just be as lazy as possible. So we're going 2019 strats with a maxed out Arcane Guardian, giving us 900 armor for 15 seconds. And then maxed out Arcane Grace, giving us a chance for health regeneration for 9 seconds. With these two put together and all this anti-sentient damage reduction stuff, it's very hard for the sentients to kill us. We're going to summon in 7 level 185 sentients, which will be probably triple, quadruple the amount of levels they're going to have in the quest. Let's just see if they can take me down at any reasonable speed. Now keep in mind, our Sentinel, Helios, insta-dies. So I'm just going to stand here and tank this and see if they can actually kill me. They are getting the health bar down as they're all focus firing me at this point, so this is a good amount of time here that I'm actually just face tanking their damage. And of course, if we actually want to move, we could use Magus Elevate to get the full health, get some energy as well while we're at it, and they are not going to be able to kill me at all. So let's show what I was talking about one-shotting sentients as Garuda. Then we'll go over the weapon choices as well here. Alright, going to kill these guys. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're just going to pause them for right now, and we're going to unspawn the Aerolist. The Aerolist is it's like a sentient support troop that gives nearby sentients healing and damage reduction. So we're going to unsummon him, and here's the key to one-shotting sentients with Garuda. I mean, there's actually multiple ways you can do it, but we're going to actually utilize the Operator Arcane Magus Overload. Now, the Sentients are robots, if you know the lore. They are machinery, robots, whatever. And I made a video on this like 2 years ago, but we finally got a use for it now. On Void Blast, stun robotic enemies for 3 seconds. Then discharge electricity damage, dealing 80% of their max health to anyone within 25 meters. Since they're robots and you can Void Blast them, it gives you % health damage, which will actually make it pretty much a one-shot with Garuda's 4. So keep in mind that most Sentients have a health-getting mechanic where you're not supposed to be able to one-shot them. There are ways to bypass that, but this will not bypass that. You're going to still kill them in one hit. As you can see, 3 buttons. That Badlist one at level 185 is dead. I don't think he got hit by that. Those guys should be dead too. And it's that simple, guys. If you have these Operator Arcanes and you have Garuda with any normal build, what even killed me there? That's something you can do. Now, also keep in mind, we'll unpause them here. You can also use Garuda's Dreadnir to pull health out of the Sentients and blast it back at them as a slash proc. So let's just throw out our orb. Those guys should all be dead. And like I said, the fastest you can kill them is 4 hits. And that's the nice thing about slash procs. They keep ticking. I think they got like 6 ticks of damage. That's enough to kill Sentients, guys. So if we actually were walking around stuff, we would have not died there. But yeah, that's the general gist of the build. Now let's go over some of the weapons and other stuff. So as far as the weapon that's in the primary slot, I'm going to be rocking the Zarr with a Toxin Elemental. The Elemental is not going to really matter. I've actually been messing with a Radiation Zarr lately, but this one's going to do great. 60% Toxin. And as far as the build, keep in mind, usually I'm running a Bane mod nowadays. There is no Bane mod for Sentients, unless you're counting sacrificial mods for melee. So instead of running a Bane mod, just run like a base damage like Amalgam Serration, making you run through the mission faster and all that. We've got Prime Firestorm for increased blast radius, very good for AoE spamming. Prime Fast Hands, as this will probably be a level 30 to 50 mission. Increased reload speed is going to be very helpful in the Zarr, letting you fire off more shots. Our Riven is just Toxin, crit damage minus Zoom, just giving us more overall base damage. We've got Viral on here. Now, I wouldn't normally recommend Viral on the Zarr, but the nice thing about this is, like, since we're just trying to one-shot Sentients with this loadout, having Viral on your Zarr build is actually not the worst thing, because the Viral proc will increase the slash damage that the Sentients are going to take. So let's hit them with the 4, then shoot them with the Zarr once. It should still be a one-shot, so... That guy did not get one shot. That guy's going to be dead, though, so... it is something you can do. They technically are weak to corrosive, so you can go for a corrosive build if you prefer that. And don't forget, there's also the shotgun mode for the Zarr, which is not as good most of the time. So that's the general gist of it, or the idea of it at least, is to get a Viral proc. Also very good for AoE clearing out ads and like weaker enemies. So that's the idea there. There's lots of other options you could go for in the primary slot. I did have the Shed do. I was messing with it for a while. I don't think it's necessary at all for the loadout we're going for, although it does still remove enemy sentient resistances, which can be nice if you're not going for the slash bypass with Garuda's 4. So, the rest of it's just a pretty standard build. You got Amalgam, Serration for increased run speed, Vigilance Supplies, a staple mod on the Zarr, crit chance, crit damage. You know how it is nowadays, guys, if you have a big AoE explodey gun. And Primary Merciless, of course. Now, the secondary slot, that's one that is, like, honestly... I'm still messing with this. The Spectra Vandal has been pretty nice. Keep in mind, I don't even have an Arcane Unlocker on this thing yet. But even with this old, like, not updated build, really, it's been pretty good for just tearing through high-level Sentients, which we will probably not fight in the first place. But the way I'm looking at this is my secondary slot, I want to have this as a mid-range engagement weapon. So with this build on the Spectra Vandal, it's got about 30-something meters of engagement range. Honestly, something that's more longer range could be a better call in the long run. Something like maybe the Kuva Kraken, the Tenant Spear Axe, some people like that, the Axamati Prime. Things like that that can engage at about 50-meter range. That might be better than what we're rocking right now. But the Spectra Vandal can do some hilarious stuff, especially with its pretty high Riven Dispo. It's a very slash-focused weapon. So let's just do the same thing. We're not going to use the Garuda 4 here, though. Let's just show how it works on these Sentients with no Garuda 4, no buffing, anything like that. So let's not do these little chump ones, because they're too easy. Let's go for this guy instead. And as you can see, with no Merciless stacks, he's going to melt, actually. Similar to how the Acolytes work, having big slash proc ticks actually is better overall. But, you can still get away with just small slash proc ticks getting stacked up pretty quickly. So let's go for some body shots on this guy. Leg shots, he's going to die to leg shots at level 185 to a Spectra Vandal. So that's something you could run, but like I said, the range is a little bit of a limitation, as we have Ruinous Extension here, about 30-meter beam length. And like I said, no Bane mods, so just rock whatever you got. And I know it's a pretty good Riven, but I'm rocking what I got. All right. And as far as the melee, now this is one that you might be like, I'm going to go with the Paracesis. If you go with the Paracesis, good on you. It will serve you very well. But I've actually decided to go with a different weapon here, a Gunblade, the Stropha. And the reason I'm going for the Stropha is because of the certain Aerolist enemy. There's an enemy called the Aerolist, and you might have forgotten these guys even exist, as they're not very common. They're pretty much like mini-bosses, honestly. And what this guy will do is, like I said earlier, he will give his sentient teammates damage reduction and healing. Notice how he's also a robot. Unfortunately, you have to actually break these canisters that are floating on the side of it before you can even damage this guy. As you can see, his health bar is gray. He's immune. I can shoot him in the face. Nothing, zeros. But then I start shooting these little canisters on the side. They start breaking open. And once they're all broken, I can actually damage him. And then that'll make it so he's not healing everybody because he'll be dead. The reason I'm using the Stropha, or any Gunblade should probably do, is that you can actually just knock out all these canisters with one shot with the Stropha. And then it's, you know, you can do whatever you need to do after that. Let's give him the good old Overload Void Blast. This should kill him. It did not kill him, so, you know, figure something out. The Garuda 1 actually is very good against that guy. But that's a big bottleneck right there, is to kill that guy so you can kill the rest of the ads. So, yeah. That's pretty much the reason we're bringing it. It's also very good for just killing sentients normally. I mean, we could use Garuda's 4 with the Stropha for huge damage numbers, huge slash procs, but that's never actually necessary from my experience. So he's dead. Guys behind him should be dead. And yeah, it's quite easy. Very, very easy. Now, Garuda's 4 does take some charge time, so that might be a hindrance to you. But as far as clearing out high-level sentients, look no further. There's other things like Excalibur Umbra. There's Zata's Whisper. I'm probably going to have a Zata's Whisper video coming out later this week. But for this build right here, you do not use Zata's Whisper. I'd say just using something like Molt or Infest Mobility to run through the mission faster, to beat that quest faster so you can potentially get to hopefully some new endgame mission would be nice. I've been having some problems with the aggro drawing of Molt, so your mileage may vary with Molt. There's definitely other options for that slot too, like Zata's Whisper. Maybe you want to run Gloom. Now here's a big thing, guys. As someone that's played lots of these big story quests when they come out right at launch, my personal advice to you is if you are trying to do the new war on the first day, do not bring anything that will slow or crowd control the enemies in the missions, because there have been lots of instances in the past where using something like Magus Lockdown, something like a slowing ability on these quest NPCs or like characters in these story quests, slowing them down and crowd controlling them can actually bug out the mission. So I would not recommend bringing that. That's why you see no Gloom on here. You see no, I've unequipped Magus Lockdown, nothing like that. So I would recommend to you, don't bring CC on the first day of the new war. Keep in mind, it will not be replayable for at least a couple weeks or a month. So I'm going to go ahead and say, bring your Helios Prime if you have it, because there will be certain enemies in there that you'll only be able to scan once probably before you cannot replay the quest for another couple months. So unfortunately for Helios, his weapon is useless now, but we do have still Investigator. He's the only Sentinel that can equip this. If you want to scan up those sentients for your Codex or maybe summon them in the Simulacrum, this is what you have to do. Now, companion survivability is terrible, and there's definitely a big argument to be made that you could potentially run Vazarin Focus School just to keep your flimsy little Sentinel alive. But I've decided to go with Maturai. I might switch to Vazarin by the time the update actually comes out, just for invincibility cheese and to keep this chump alive. But yeah, this is what we got right here. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Just tank, enemy radar, vacuum, the scanning mod you need, and then prime regen so he has multiple lives. You could make him attack. There's certain mods like Assault Mode let you let the Sentinel attack. And as far as guns, the best ones are going to be the Verglas, the Sweeper Prime, the Death Machine Rifle Prime, and the Hellstrom. There's definitely some other good ones too. Some people like the Deconstructor Prime as it has highest base damage, but it feels like crap to me, so I'm not going to really use that. Alright, and that is it for the frame, weapons, and companion. We are going to have a video on the Necramech build and the Railjack build coming out soon, but that's pretty much it. As far as the Parazon, I mean, who even uses this thing? There's certain Parazon mods you might think are useful, but I don't even think that the Sentients can take Parazon finishers, so don't bother with anything like Hard Reset, Power Drain, or stuff like that. Just don't even think about your Parazon during the quest. It probably will not be important in the slightest. As far as other frames you could run for this, like I said, Excalibur Umbra. was going to be my first choice, but it just didn't feel necessary, and I didn't feel like I was like, you know, my damage was as powerful as I was playing in Garuda. But this is definitely going to be a good flavor choice right here. Rock Shadow, Excalibur Umbra, Paracesis, whatever secondary you want to run, and yeah, go to town. Some other good ones, you could do Grendel to eat the sentients, which I'm pretty sure does still work. You know, eat them in your belly, chew them up, spit them out, they might just die. Ash Prime can also one-shot sentients with his 4, but it doesn't require some combo building. If you want to go Ash Prime to one-shot sentients with his 4, go for it. A lot of people like Baruch with the Adaptive Fist Augment, or whatever it's called, which will make it so you're just wrecking sentients even harder, is pretty good. And there's lots of other good choices, guys, so it's pretty much bring whatever you want, but make sure your fashion frame looks good. I'd say unequip Wing Ephemeras, honestly, because they will be very distracting during cutscenes. I took off the Bat Wings Ephemera on my Garuda for the Skull one, just for the time being. Probably go back after it's done. Before we're on, let's actually go over the Operator amp really quickly, too. So I'm using a 477 amp, I believe it is. So the 4 Prism is going to be the long-range machine gun rapid-fire one. Pretty good for dealing with nullifiers. If there's certain things that require multiple hits, this is great. I usually use the, I think it's the 674, which is going to give you increased operator regen for void dashing. But we've decided to go with more crit for the purposes of the quest, as there will most likely be a Eidolon shield or 2 that requires some damage to be dealt by your operator amp. So before we call it, let's just go back to the ship, and we're going to talk about the operator focus schools really quickly. I don't want this video to be like 40 minutes or an hour long. That's why we're going to be splitting up the rest of it into the second video. Alright, so we're going to go to the operator, and like I said, there's lots of options. It's pretty much whatever you have. I would not recommend going to the New War with a Moat amp, though. As think about the quests we had before this. We had the Sacrifice, which required a good amount of void damage to kill the Umbra, and there might be something else I'm forgetting. But yeah, we've got Matarai right now just for increased damage. It's not super important. Now, this is more of a nostalgia thing for me. The first focus school I picked was Matarai, so I decided I want to go with Matarai for the New War. It does give you increased elemental damage and all that, but it's not super important for what we're doing. These nodes are pretty worthless, to be honest. If you were to just be completely try-harding, I would recommend to go with Vazarin. Not only will this keep your Helios alive so you can keep scanning, but it'll also keep you alive, as you can be invincible with the Protective Dash node right here. But keep in mind, if you have things like Sonic Dash, this might stun the enemy and might bug out the mission, so be careful, honestly. So, yeah, whatever you bring, guys, it should be fine. We're definitely over-preparing right now. And as far as the amp, like I said, I've got the Propa Scaffold, Certus Brace, and Ron Prism. That's what I'm going to go with. I might end up switching back to this Operator Energy Regen focused build, which has a lot less crit chance with the Lega Prism, Propa Scaffold, and Spatha Brace, but I haven't seen the need yet. And then as far as the Operator Arcane, for the amp, we've got Virtuous Strike. On crit hit, gives you increased crit damage. This thing fires pretty fast, has pretty good crit chance, so you're going to be getting that to proc a lot. And then, like I said, Magus Overload, this comes from Fortuna. I think it's the Little Duck Arcane, can be very nice. I'm taking off Magus Lockdown, like I said, to not bug out the mission, potentially. And then as far as the healing Arcane, we've got Elevate. Repair is very similar and just as good, to be honest. But, you know, Elevate's technically a little bit faster if you spam the Operator back and forth a bunch, and then this requires you to sit in Void mode, but is a more consistent experience, I'd say, because it's 100% versus 95. Alright, guys, hopefully you found it helpful. Let me know if there's anything I missed or forgot, or anything that you think might be better than Garuda one-shotting the sentients from full health with a slash spec that bypasses their armor. If you think there's anything better than that I'm missing, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you're going to be running for the New War. I'm interested to see. I mean, these are the fun type of thing. I did a video of this, like this, on the Deimos when that came out, and that loadout actually ended up being very effective. Saren with the Vectus Prime and stuff like that. Let me know what you guys are using for the New War in the comments down below. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people saying Zaku, Excalibur Umbra, Baruch, and maybe even like a Naros and stuff, just so you can be really lazy. So, alright guys, take it easy. Peace.